Hey everyone, so it's been a while since I touched the My Hero Season 4 reviews on this channel. About a year ago, I tackled episode 23, which is one of the best in the series. And unfortunately, I just stopped there. I kind of stopped due to the circumstances of the world at that time, and I just needed to focus on my main channel and my own personal health. But now that I'm pumping the gas on Sage again, in addition to My Hero Season 5 being right around the corner, I figured it's time that I finally wrap up my review of the last two episodes. For any of you actually wanting to still watch this video, I want to thank you so much for sticking through it with me. I deeply appreciate your support from the bottom of my heart. Alright, mushy stuff aside, let's start off with episode 24. So the episode starts off shortly after the school festival, and much to everyone's surprise, Eri is going to be living at UA for the foreseeable future, as she has no family that could take her in. This was definitely the safest option, as she still has no control over her quirk yet, and the only person that could stop her in a situation like that is Eraserhead naturally. We also learn that during her time in the hospital, doctors had discovered that the source of Eri's power was the horn on her head, which is starting to grow again. So the plan is to have her around the people that can make her the safest and the most comfortable, while at the same time, train her for her own benefit as well as Lemillion's. Any Eri screen time is very welcomed, and the news of her staying at UA was just fantastic. We all need to see more of that precious smile. While I could go on forever about Eri, we need to talk about the meat of this episode. As it's titled, this episode is primarily about the Japanese hero billboard charts. We get a little bit more information on this from Present Mike, as well as UA's special guests, the Wild Wild Pussycats. Okay, need to go over that wholesome Deku and Kota interaction real quick. The fact that he wanted red shoes, just like our MC, just melted my heart. Anyway, back to the hero billboard chart. We learn that a hero's ranking is determined by the ranking of incidents they resolve, the contribution they make to society, and the overall approval rating they get from citizens, all factored and updated twice a year. The students can't even begin to fathom what a chart without All Might is gonna look like, considering he's probably been the #1 hero years before any of them were even born. We cut to the arena where the event is being held, and we learn of the new top 10. We see a familiar face in Ryukyu at the number 10 spot, followed by an old samurai, a washing machine, Groot, an All Might fanboy, Bunny Girl Senpai, Edgelord, Pants, Captain Falcon, and Father of the Year. During all of their acceptance speeches, many of the heroes kind of come off pandering the Stain's ideology, which is promptly called out by Hawks. Hawks definitely is a really cool character. He started his own agency at 18 and got into the top 10 just a half a year later, breaking records by doing so. He's awesome, but he just loves to stir the pot, calling out all the heroes for indulging the hero killer's ideals. After this beration, he passes the mic to the new #1. Reflecting back on the words All Might spoke to him at the remedial courses, Endeavor decides to simply tell everyone to watch him, which is actually pretty powerful, as this is the moment he finally separates himself from surpassing All Might and walking down his own path. After the ceremony, Hawks approaches the new #1 with the proposition of teaming up with him to investigate rumors of Nomu popping around Japan. These don't appear to be rumors to the audience, however, as we get a nice little scene of Dabi speaking to a Nomu he refers to as High End. Later in the episode, Hawks reveals his reason for approaching Endeavor with this team-up is to either dispel the rumors or to take down the Nomu, which either outcome results in making him a more reliable #1. This is all for Hawks' goal of creating a society where heroes have too much free time. Before this revelation, we get a few extra world-building tidbits. We have a Flasher wanting to take revenge on the company he used to work for, speaking of metahuman liberation. To my knowledge, this is the first time we are hearing the term metahuman used in My Hero, so it'll be interesting to learn what this is all about. We're also graced with seeing how effortlessly Hawks is able to save and interact with people. Endeavor wants to try and do the same thing to no avail. Despite wanting to walk down a new path, Endeavor is clearly having issues on figuring out the best way to do that. It's funny that he mentioned Inasa as someone he hit it off well with, considering that the reality is the kid actually has deep-seated contempt for the man. Fast forwarding back to the end of this episode, we are now aware that the Nomu sightings were no mere rumors, as a flying Nomu crashes into the building both heroes were in. Talking no less, cue cliffhanger for the next episode. Honestly, while nothing absolutely major happens in this episode, we do get a lot of plot building. How will Endeavor be able to become a reliable #1? What exactly are metahumans? So many interesting things going on at once, and yet it's not even the least bit overwhelming. All of these new and intriguing narratives flow so well with each other that it just makes you excited to see what happens next. Naturally, with only one episode left, we can assume all of the new narratives just dropped on us won't be answered anytime soon. And it's definitely the perfect vehicle for getting fans to crave more of this amazing series. That's one thing My Hero has always done right in my opinion. It wraps one thing up and just powers you into the next big thing without ever feeling like it's rushed. But I shouldn't talk about any of this like the season is finished, because there's one more episode to cover. In our final episode of the season, we see the Todoroki siblings, Fuyumi and Natsuo, visit their mother in the hospital. They enjoy some casual banter until Natsuo decides to bring up that their father has finally reached the coveted #1 spot. He expresses his disgust because of how Endeavor abused Shoto and his mother, while also pretending the rest of the family didn't even exist. He is firm in his belief that all his father wants to do is forget about all of them. Ri, however, does not share this sentiment. She brings up the fact that her husband has gifted her her favorite flower while hospitalized, even though she only ever mentioned it to him once before. She believes Endeavor doesn't want to abandon or forget about his family. It's just that he's doing everything he can in his own special way to face his past and his future going forward. While I certainly agree with Ri here, I don't believe Endeavor goes about dealing with his issues in any way that could be considered the right way. I know, real hot take there. I truly do get where Natsuo is coming from in this situation, when he questions why his mother is allegedly quick to defend her husband. While, yes, she did maim her youngest child, forcing Endeavor's hand to hospitalize her, we cannot forget that she was driven into a manic state from Endeavor's abuse. So it almost feels a little Stockholmy, but I digress. Moving on to the real good stuff this episode, we have one of the best fights of the entire series. As Endeavor fights the high end, we see that not only it can regenerate, but it is also able to talk and think critically. This is a far cry difference from any other Nomu we have seen to date, as all the other ones were mere puppets under someone else's command, while this one is acting according to its own free will. Given this anomaly, Endeavor wants to try and bring this monstrosity in for questioning. However, a problem arises as he finds out the Nomu is both faster and stronger than him. Endeavor's only chance of defeating it is by outwitting it. As the building the Nomu attacks falls apart, we finally see Hawks' quirk revealed. Fierce Wings allows him to detach and control every one of his feathers, which all have incredible senses. He safely and quickly scopes out the 70 odd people in the building, showing why he was more than deserving of that #2 spot. As the fight continues, Endeavor talks about how overheating has always been the main drawback of his quirk. He kind of uses this to justify his creepy eugenics experiment with his children. And I just gotta say, it still shows that Endeavor has a lot of growing up to do. While I understand that having a child like Shoto would be beneficial to Hero Society, having a child for that sole purpose is just, well, as I said, creepy. I think until Endeavor fully realizes why that was wrong, he'll always be stuck in the past, even if just a little. Anyways, despite the drawbacks of his quirk, Endeavor attempts to incinerate the Nomu with his most powerful attack, Prominence Burn. Much to his chagrin, the Nomu was able to outthink Endeavor here by ripping off its own head, allowing it to regenerate once more. It hits Endeavor with a surprise attack, and just like that, all hope is seemingly lost. Without the symbol of peace, people begin to panic. Despite the Nomu's powerful attack, Endeavor gets back up over and over again, refusing to be defeated. During the public's panic state, we get a very impassioned speech by a kid that looks a lot like Fairy Tail's Natsu. He tries to get everyone to acknowledge that Endeavor is risking his life for all of them, and repeats the request Endeavor gave everyone at the Hero Billboard chart ceremony. Look at him. This is where things really heat up, as we get an amazing tag team with Hawks and Endeavor. Knowing that he can't assist him too much in the raw power department, Hawk sends Feathers to #1 to give him more speed, as well as a beautiful Phoenix motif as their quirks meld together. Though this is still not enough to defeat the Nomu, Endeavor orders Hawks to take the two of them as high as they could go, so he can unleash everything he has. As they fly high into the sky, Endeavor gives another monologue about how he and the Nomu were basically the same on account of the power obsession. He unleashes a final Prominence burn in a very plus ultra style, and, to the relief of everyone, stands triumphantly in a pose reminiscent of All Might. Despite the solace everyone is basking in, Deku reminds us that the duty of the symbol of peace can no longer rest on the shoulders of one person, and that all heroes must do what they can to carry on. After the ED, we're greeted with the Season 5 teaser. We see Deku sleeping, and then suddenly appearing in a foggy, distorted realm. He's surrounded by the previous One For All holders as he watches All For One overpower the original holder. Then, with a huge twist, the first reaches out and speaks to him, which awakens Deku to a devastated room. And with that, all I can say is wow. There's so much about this episode. First and foremost, that animation is single-handedly the best animation in this series by far. Whenever Bones animators get to work with fire, they really go all out in such unique ways. Truly a masterclass of animation. But it's more than just that. While I still have my reservations on Endeavor from his past and current behavior, the episode appropriately titled What This Is For Endeavor. It's his new starting line. No one will be perfect at the beginning, but as long as he can continue on the new path he's laid out for himself, there may just be a bit of redemption awaiting him. But we'll just have to wait for Season 5 to see if any of that will come to fruition. With that said, thank you all so much for watching. I know it's been a long time coming, but I'm really glad I was finally able to wrap up the My Hero Season 4 reviews. Now that I am back on the horse that is consistent Mystic Sage uploads, I'm happy to say that I will once again be taking a crack at reviewing My Hero once it starts airing in late March, so I hope you all look forward to that. But that's enough for now. Thank you all so much for watching, everyone, and I will catch you all next time.